So my brain damage. So after the car accident, I ended up going to a neurologist right away, and they basically, the language part of my brain wasn't working. So like if somebody would show me a picture of a flower, I would call it a butterfly. I just couldn't find the right words, but my brain would find something that was close. And so one of the things, this is the second part. I didn't mean to do two parts. I told the story about when I fell down the hill, and then I didn't plan to make the car wreck part so long, but it ended up long. So jumping forward to the aftermath or whatever. So anyway, I was given a dice, and I'd roll a dice, and I had 90 seconds, and it would come up with a letter. And I remember I had the letter D, and I had 90 seconds to name as many words as I could that started with that letter. And I was super cocky, so I was like, yeah, okay, so like I have a concussion, but it's fine, like whatever. I could only name 3 words. In 90 seconds, I could only name 3 words that started with the letter D. And then and that was immediately. And I was like, okay, that really made me realize how bad it was. Like I was not aware it was as bad as it was. And so I ended up in 10 months of speech therapy. So some of the things that happened, like I got a new vehicle, and I remember I came home and I told the kids, like, I replaced the Durango, and I got a truck, and they're like, what color is it? And I was like, it's thirsty. In fact, I thought that was a color. Like in my brain, it was like, oh, that's color. And then I was like, okay, no, that's not a color. And they said that was actually really fortunate, because some people who have that problem, like if they call a flower a butterfly, they don't know it's wrong. Where like I knew, okay, that's not the right word, but my brain would just try to find the closest thing that it could find to the word. And so I did a lot of the speech therapy was learning how to cheat. So like now in a normal conversation, most people would never notice, because you find ways around it. And so I will describe things. That was one of the things, like I'll look at the kids and say, the thing that sticks the things together, and they'll be like, tape, Mom, it's called tape. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. And the hard part also is that people who are closest to you will be the ones who downplay it the most. And they will say things to you like, well, I forget words. Yeah, bitch, I forgot words too before I got in the car accident. But it's not the same. It's not the same. It's like, I still have times where I'm like, what's that word? Like everybody does that. And I did it before. I'm like, what's that word? And it's like right there. The difference is it's not right there. There's nothing there. There's like a black spot there. And I was singing at this time and had an album out, and I had an album release party like a month later, and I wasn't supposed to be around bright lights, loud noise, nothing. But I had people flying in, from North Carolina to Minnesota for an album release party. So I had to, I was like, I'm going on stage no matter what. And so I was at band practice, and I remember standing there, and one of the things is we were practicing a song, and in the middle of the song, I would start singing the words to a completely different song, like in the middle of the song. And so then we knew I always have to have a monitor. Like I always have to have a monitor in front of me with words on it, because my brain will just be like, oh, lyrics, I've got lyrics, and it'll just give me lyrics. Not the right lyrics, but it'll give me lyrics. And so we're standing there in band practice, and I remember it was like a shade was pulled down in a house window. It is the best way I can describe it is if you were in a coma but conscious. So you could hear the things going on around you or even see them, but you couldn't get outside of your head. It was like I was trapped in there looking out, but there was no way to communicate with what was outside. And I started bawling. At band practice. And it took a little bit, and then all of a sudden it was like my brain went and then back up, and then it was like the shade went back up, and then I was back to there again. And that happened periodically since the accident. Over time, it's gotten less frequent and then much shorter durations, like when it happens. And the last time it happened, I was driving down the road, which is terrifying. But it wasn't scary anymore because, it's always scary because you're worried your brain's not going to turn back on. But I knew what it was, and I knew that it was gonna reset. So, it got so that it wasn't like, but that first time, it was terrifying. So anyway, we go to the album release party, and the plus side was I had written all the songs. They're all originals. So I was like, well, if I sing them all wrong, nobody's going to know. So that's a bonus. So I'm on stage, and the band starts playing a song, and I start singing. And I was like, oh, that kind of sounds off, but whatever. So I started singing, and my guitarist looks at me, and the drummer is looking at the guitarist, because I'm looking at my lead guitarist, and because he took over a ton of stuff. Like, I used to go from reading 100 emails a day to 10 if I was lucky. Like, and I had to take a nap every day because I'd have to shut my brain off. It's like unplugging the computer and plugging it back in. Anyway, so I look over at Nick, and I was just like, something was off, but I just kept singing. Well, they realized that I was singing the wrong song. And so they, one by one of them switched. I don't know if it was him or the drummer, I can't remember, switched to what I was singing. And then the other one followed him, and then the bass player followed them, and then we had like a steel guitar, and we had like a fiddle player, and they all one by one transitioned to the song that I was singing. The band is that good. And then we get through the song, and at the end of the song, the drummer looks at me and goes, hey, so we're going to go back and sing, like, she likes it rough, like the song that I didn't sing. And I was like, oh my God, I sang the wrong songs. Like, we have a set list in front of me. I sang the wrong song, and they one by one switched over to the right song. So now I always have words in front of me because when I sing, because I most of the time I'm okay. Ironically, music is second to, I think, smell for memory retention, which is why music is really good for people with like Alzheimer's. They can remember a song they learned as a child where they may not remember like other things. So some songs that I learned way before the car accident have stuck, and I could sing those like muscle memory, and I don't have to think about it, or I purposely don't. But if I think about it, or if I get stressed out at all, it goes away. So for me, I do the national anthem a lot at a lot of events, and that one's terrifying for me because I can't stand there and hold a sheet of paper with the words on it. And I've sang it so many times that I know the words. But I'm so worried about forgetting the words and messing up this important song for all these people. And I remember one time I was singing it. Ironically, this was not on purpose. It's funny. Like, okay, so I'm wearing a Fargo Force jersey. So Fargo Force is a hockey team in Fargo, North Dakota. Anyway, 100%. That was not intentional. But I was singing the national anthem there after the car accident. And I'm singing the anthem, and every year they give me my own jersey. They have a cool jersey every year that they make, and I get my name on the back of it. Remind me someday, I got to tell you guys the jersey story, but when the guy, like, shook my arms, it scared the shit out of me about, where did you get this jersey? That's another story, but anyway. So I'm there singing, and I get to a spot, and I hesitate, and I don't have the next words. And then all of a sudden, I just stop thinking, start singing, and it comes out, and the song ends, and my daughter was there, and she comes out to me and she's like, you forgot the words. And I was like, nobody else noticed. She goes, nobody else would have noticed, but you don't hesitate that long in that spot. She's like, you forgot the words. And I was like, yes, I did. And she was like, I was like, I hope she picks the guitar back up and sings. But it was terrifying. But anyway, so that's one of the things that I deal with it. And so, but the long language part, and then my visual memory was great. So I'd have short-term memory loss. If you tell me things, I don't remember them. But like if I see something sitting somewhere, and they think that was because my brain is so art-centered, because I do art, like I'm very art like centered. If I see something sitting there, I know it's there. But if you move it and tell me, when I go look for it and it's gone, it doesn't exist anymore. Now it's not so bad, but at the beginning it was really bad. I would panic. I'd be like, oh my God, the cash that I had there is no longer in existence. And the kids would be like, Mom, I threw it in the drawer. You can't tell me. You have to show me. If you pointed at it and show me, I would remember. But visual memory I could do. Spoken memory, it didn't stick. Here I'm running out of time again because like there's just a lot of information about my brain injury. So, yeah. So again, I'm not trying to do a part this, that, or the other thing. There's just a lot of stuff with it. But if you guys have questions about it, I will happily talk about it because I think it's really important to bring it up because a lot of people don't talk about it. And also, if you can't see it, people wouldn't know that I have it. Most people are never able to tell unless if I have a bad day where I stutter really bad or I'm doing this a lot where I'm trying to find the words. My family can tell. Most people can't tell. But I think it's a really big deal to talk about because so many veterans, for one, have TBIs. And it's just something that I'm passionate about now. So if you have questions, I mean, definitely ask me and I'll tell whatever stories you guys want to hear.